Life's messy. It's sacred too. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain, Reverend Casey Fight opens up, a recovering addict from everything, a minister, a yogi, an ultimate beginner right alongside you. This is Courageous Casey Conversations, honest talk on mindfulness, spiritual growth, and recovery with dark nights of the soul, good ordinary direction, and plenty of laughter woven through. You are not alone in this mess we call life. Community, honesty, courage, hope. Come as you are. Watch live or catch the replay anytime on the New Thought Media Network or YouTube at Courageous Casey. Because deeply, we are one. And now, here's Reverend Casey.
Hello, welcome. My name is Casey Fight, and I'm so grateful that you are here for our very first show, Courageous Casey Conversations. So I want to begin by really getting us into a place of grounding and connecting to here and now. So I invite you to just move into a place of prayer with me. Soften your eyes, close your eyes. Of course not if you're driving, Kathy, another Kathy. So let's just ground in. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. As you exhale out your mouth, let's take a couple more breaths like that. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Breathing in and out. Just taking a few moments at the top of the hour here to be present in this moment. Whether you're sitting, standing, on the go, just simply listening or observing, just bring your awareness to the here and now. I know that right now this is a beautiful place. We are in a place of surrender. We're in a place of courage, of openness. And so I know that all that is present right here, right now. It is breathing me. It is breathing you. It is the essence of life. I like to call it God, healing power, higher power, spirit, source, universe. It has so many names, whatever that name is for you. Just connect to that which breathes you, which animates you, which is abundant. And I know as we move into this time today of having courageous conversations, of sharing, of learning, of starting this new adventure, that this time is blessed. It is full of love and light. There is an abundance of willingness, of growth, of consciousness, of courage, of story, of conversation, of love, and of light. And I know that this adventure, this time that we have together is sacred, that every moment is sacred. And I am so grateful to New Thought Media Network, to Robert Brzezinski for this opportunity. I'm so grateful for all of you tuning in, whether it's live or at a later date. I'm so grateful for the knowingness of all the good, all the abundance, all the peace, the guidance, the healing, the joy, the laughter that is present right here, right now. So I just open up this space with so much love, with so much gratitude, with so much light, thanking you for being here as we move into this courageous conversation. So I invite you, if you'd like, to join your hands together. You can join me by saying namaste if you'd like. That means the divine in me sees the divine in you. Or so it is, or amen, or hallelujah, or aho. Here we are. So welcome. Thank you so much. I see several of you are here with me live. You know, you can type into the chat and most likely I will see it. This is our first go. So I'm just going to say courageously that challenges will happen. Things will work, things will not work, and we will just go with the flow. So welcome. It's August 19th, 6 p.m. live, and this is the first Courageous Casey Conversation. So excited. So today I don't have a special guest, although you'll see a special friend come in a little bit later for just a little bit. But I really wanted to start my first show with like, why am I doing this? What is this about? What's going on here? Um, I have taken a letter of call, which is a contract as a minister with Robert Brzezinski and New Thought Media Network. So this is my ministry. I've been a minister for about a year and a couple months now. And the first 3 years of ministry under the umbrella of Centers for Spiritual Living is kind of like trial ministry. So a letter of call is a contract, and then I move towards ordination. So this is my show. I'm so grateful he's given me the opportunity to kind of do whatever I want, which I love that. And so I want to tell you a little bit about kind of where this idea, Courageous Casey Conversations, came from. I really see it as kind of real talk, resiliency, recovery. I personally think that we all need to be in 12 steps. We all need to recover from something. If you're a human being alive, you've had some trauma, whether big T's or little T's, you've had challenges. It's just not easy being a human being. So I don't exactly know when this began, probably around the pandemic, but I started calling myself Courageous Casey, just in a sense to empower myself to be courageous. And, fear is all around us, and we often have fears that we don't even realize that we have fears. And am of the mindset that fear is going to be there no matter what. Fears aren't going to go away, but what are we going to do? How are we going to show up? So I believe in feeling the fear and doing it anyways. And so I've created a bit of a mission and a vision for our time here in this ministry. And it's like everything in my life. It's a work in progress. My favorite motto is sloppy success is better than perfect inaction. So I've been trying to recover from being a perfectionist. Anybody relate? I imagine that there's a lot of hands out there right now. And just do it. And it's build a plane while you're flying, and you can tweak it and change it. And that's how you get better at something, by doing it courageously, doing it sloppily. Hopefully it's not that sloppy, but so right now I have my mission is really to guide and be guided by a healing power, which is really helping you to be your best self. I've kind of decided that just recently, like in the last 48 hours, that my new term for God is healing power. I am in 12 steps, and we often say higher power, and somebody said healing power. And I thought, that resonates, because ever since I've been a very small child, I've been looking for a healing power, and I believe that I've found it. And my vision is really to shine my light so bright that you can shine your light so bright, that we shine our light so bright, that we really are expressions of the light that we're meant to be. So who am I? This show is going to be kind of one that you can refer back to. You're like, who is Casey? And so here's I'm going to dump it all out in this first show. Like I mentioned, I'm a minister. I've been a yogi for 28 years or so as a yoga teacher and a yoga practitioner. I've been teaching in meditation that long as well. I like to think of my middle name as Resilience. Along with courageous, resilience, Casey, fight. My last name is pronounced fight. And for a while I was going by Casey Love, because I don't want to fight anymore. But we sometimes do need to fight for what's important to us, which is why I put on my vote shirt today with the little Om symbol here. Sometimes we have to fight for what we stand up for, what we believe in. I've also a recovering, or a survivor, I should say thriver, of breast cancer. I've conquered that. It's been a couple years out that I survived that journey and thrived that. I'm also a person who identifies as someone with ADHD. And I don't know where I heard this, but I like to think of it as attention dialed to a higher dimension. And I don't exactly like the word disability, But in our society, ADHD, is kind of on that spectrum. I personally believe that our society kind of created boxes for people to fit in, and I don't fit in any of them. I'm like, where are these boxes people are talking about? So I think attention dial to a higher dimension is more appropriate. I feel more connected and sense to the spiritual world than I do to this material world that we live in. But of course, we still gotta live here. I'm also an empty nester, and I say sort of. My daughter's 20 at the time of this recording in 2026, soon to be 21 in December. And she's off to college, but she's living with me temporarily. So I'm hanging on as long as I can. But she's amazing. Maybe I'll have her on the show someday. I don't know. We'll see if she'd be willing to do it. And I'm just really determined to be a good person, to overcome the challenges. I'm a Leo. I just had my birthday, like 6 days ago. And, I once did a talk about the 9 lives that I've lived, and that was before the pandemic. And I feel like I've lived another 9 lives since the pandemic. It's crazy. So as we go along, I'll share more of those stories. I'm working on writing a book too. And, again, why courageous Casey conversations? I wanted to create a space where we can talk about the hard stuff, where we can talk about stigma. I feel like most of my life I've dealt with stigma. First, I was a yogi when nobody was doing it. There was no yoga studios when I started. I was a vegetarian. My family thought I was weird. I had this ADHD thing. I was in recovery. I was doing all these things in life. And I was always that black sheep, which I chose to reframe into a rainbow sheep. And the funny thing is now I can look back and go, oh, actually, I was more of a pioneer. I started doing all those things before they became mainstream. But I have always had a call towards being a voice for people who may not feel like they can share their voice. I'm not afraid to ask the questions. I'm not afraid to look silly or make mistakes. I shouldn't say I'm not afraid. I am afraid, but I do it anyways, right? That's the courage part. So, I really I try to live life one day at a time, just for today. Because that's how I need to live. I try to plan, but executive functioning is not necessarily a big strength of mine. So that's growing over time. And I'm grateful for opportunities to express in new and different ways. So I'm excited. Some of you guys are still here. Thank you. So throughout these sessions, this show, every single week, I want to bring in different spiritual practices. So I've kind of identified 5 that are key to me, and we'll do a little bit of some practice each week. The first one is breath. Another thing I didn't tell you about myself is I had a life-threatening illness as a child. I couldn't breathe. I had asthma, and it was really severe. I'm talking about growing up in the hospital, not being able to play with kids on the playground because I would have an asthma attack. I had an experience where the bus was like 5 minutes from the bus stop for me to get off, but the fire department was right there, and I was having an asthma attack, and all the kids had to sit on the bus and wait for me while I went into the fire department to get a breathing treatment. And, my greatest pain as a child was not being able to breathe. And several decades later, what did I get to do? I ended up teaching children how to breathe, how to move their bodies through yoga poses, through mindfulness. My greatest pain brought me my greatest peace. And everything I've done in my life has been an evolution of I've learned something, I've been served, I've been helped, and then I want to give it back. And so that's kind of this, like I want to give back and support. And, maybe selfishly a little bit, I know when I give, I receive. And maybe that's not selfish, but that is kind of that circular motion. When we give, it supports us. We talk about that in recovery, that when we help others, we're helping ourselves. We get outside of ourselves, and it supports us in our own recovery. So breath, laughter yoga is the second spiritual practice. So my intention is to bring in plenty of laughter into these sessions. Maybe we'll do a full laughter yoga session one time. Mindfulness is really about being here now. It's not about getting this quiet mind. That's a little more meditation, I would say. Mindfulness is slightly different. It's just observing. Here I am right now. One of my favorite mindfulness practices is using the 5 senses. And so maybe we'll come back and do that a little bit later in this session, but just really tapping into all the senses around you. Loving kindness, really powerful practice. And then movement. I have been a fitness person my whole life, taught every kind of fitness activity you could name before I found yoga, from spinning to the slide, to the high aerobics, the low aerobics, the step aerobics, cross training, you name it, I taught it. So those are the 5 spiritual practices that we'll be bringing in each week on the show. And also, as I have my special guests on each week too, finding out what their favorite spiritual practice is. So if you're going to be a guest, start thinking about that. And then I just have a list of a bunch of, I think, amazing words or spiritual practices, I would say, or concepts that I want to bring into the show too, like hope and honesty and faith, of course, courage, integrity, willingness. In our 12-step programs, often we talk about being willing to be willing. Like, am I willing to be willing? It's just like letting go of that ego a little bit, just enough to open up to see if there's something greater there, which can lead to our humility, to patience, discipline, perseverance, spiritual awareness, service, all kinds of good things. So, yes, so I'm really excited about all of this. And each week, when I have live guests on, which will be starting soon. Actually, I just realized I should share the link on the show if you want to be a guest, but you can also contact me and get on the newsletter, and I'll send it out that way as well. But each week, I will have 3 core questions that I will be asking you. And so, of course, my dear friend Kathy's like, well, you got to share yours first. Right. I do. I get to share mine first. So in just a few moments, Kathy Nunaker, my good friend who's a practitioner at Mile High, is going to come on, and she's going to ask me these questions. And so I'm going to share my story with you a little bit more. This is going to be the Casey Talking Show today, but in general, in the future, when I have my guests on, it'll be more of a conversation. So right now, I'm having a conversation with myself and with Kathy here shortly. And then after that, I'm gonna share with you some different videos and kind of what's going on here at New Thought Media Network. And my intention is for the show to be kind of 45 minutes, maybe 60 minutes, just depends. And I just realized that I actually wanted to share this poem at the very beginning, which I forgot. So I'm going to do it now. My friend Deanne Deirdre, practitioner at Mile High, shared this with me originally, and I just think it's so powerful. So I'm going to bring this up. And I'm going to make it full screen here. And I'm going to take away that image in the background. Okay, so I just want to read this to you. I think this is so powerful. So this is really an invitation to a brave space. And it's by Mickey Scott Bay Jones. And it was inspired by Beth Sturano's unnamed poem. And we've been doing some courageous conversations together, and she brought this forth, and I just think it's really powerful. So I wanted to share it here as well. So together we will create brave space, because there's no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars. We have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. I just want to point that out and read that again. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. I just think that's so important. A pillar of my life is questioning. Question what we think we know. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. Powerful. If you can type in the chat, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, if you have any thoughts. Really good stuff. Oh my gosh, there is stuff in the chat and I missed it. Okay. Yay, Christy saying congratulations. Thank you. So excited you're here. Brian, glad that you're here. Yeah, and Wayne, glad that you're here as well. Oh my gosh, so good. Okay. So I'm going to invite in my friend Kathy Nunaker. Kathy, are you ready? I'm going to invite her into
Yes.
the stage. Okay.
Hello.
Let's see. Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm
This is
trying to
wonderful,
make,
Casey. You're
thank
doing a
you.
wonderful job.
Thank you.
And yes, I'm thinking the core questions might be something that you are the first one to answer.
Mhm.
So, would you like me to start? Drum roll. First
Yes, drum
question.
roll. Okay.
First question is, Casey, what is your dark night of the soul story? And how did you get to the other side? You told us a little bit of the one as a child, but what would you consider your dark night of the soul story?
You know what? I feel like I have so many.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's driven me to become a minister, because I just keep moving through them. But the one that really, really stands out is 24 years ago, plus I'd say 40 days, was the very last night of my using. Because as a child, as I mentioned, I was really sick. I basically grew up as a kid with the doctors and my parents saying, "Here, take this drug and you'll feel better." Right? And so I did, because it was medicine and it made me feel better. But as I felt better and didn't need that, I still mentally and emotionally did not feel good. So when I found alcohol in high school, oh, I took that drug and it made me feel better. When I found marijuana was my drug of choice in college, oh, I took that and I made me feel better. But what happened is I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. And I personally really believe that addiction we call it cunning and baffling. It's very powerful because it has the ability to override our brains, so to speak. And for me, with the asthma, I could barely breathe, let alone get that oxygen to my brain, right? So I really think that it had a lot to do with my brain chemistry. And so it was July 11th, 2002. I was living in the mountains here in Colorado, and I just didn't want to be here anymore. And the irony is, I lived in this big, beautiful home. I had a husband who loved me dearly. I was teaching yoga in my basement. Or actually, it was kind of a walk-in mother-in-law apartment in my home. It was beautiful. I had all these great clients. I had a radio show. I was writing for the local newspaper. I was doing all these amazing things, and yet it felt like I was so out of integrity that I didn't want to be alive, because all I wanted to do was wake up every day and numb myself, because my pain from my childhood that I carried into the 30 years of my life, I couldn't escape that pain. And so I remember I was in the family room floor, and I was down on my hands and knees. I was almost like in a child's pose. And I was just like, I can't live like this anymore. I wasn't suicidal at that point, but I certainly didn't want to live. And I didn't know what to do. And I just really kind of like begged, like, can you take this away from me? And I had just, at that time, I just moved to Colorado. I'd been here like maybe 6 months or something. And I sought out a therapist who specialized in addictions and sexual abuse and trauma and other things. You know, this woman kind of fit my criteria of all these things. And that I went to see her the next day after this night for my first therapy session. And I kind of told her, you know, that I was trying to stop. I was trying to stop using this drug, and I just couldn't stop. And she's like, you've probably heard of AA, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not an alcoholic. You know, I can take it or leave it with alcohol. And she's like, well, there's this fellowship called NA, Narcotics Anonymous. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this is a drug, and maybe I'll go check it out. So I went to the meeting, and this again was back in 2002, and they smoked like crazy in these meetings. And with my asthma, I'm like allergic to smoke. You know, I could barely breathe. But I went into this meeting, and there's people of all walks of life. It was in this mountain club. People were smoking like crazy, but they were sharing my story, but with different circumstances. And I was like, what? You mean I'm not the only one who feels this way? You know, that's the self-centeredness of addiction. And I just was like, I left and I felt like a little bit of hope, just a little bit of hope. And so I went back, I just kept going back. And then next thing you know, I had 6 months of sobriety. Actually, you know what? I take that back. What I did do is I kind of still drank some because I thought, well, I'm not an alcoholic. I just have this drug problem. You know, again, the ignorance. But I finally realized, yes, I have a problem with alcohol too. So I gave up the alcohol as well. And like I said, July 12th of 2026, last month, I celebrated 24 years of sobriety, clean and sober, drugs and alcohol. So, and you know, what's crazy is like, my entire life has evolved so much. If you had told me then that I was going to be a minister, I'd be like, you're crazy. If you told me that, you know, I would be happy and joyous and free and living the life that I have now, I never would have believed you. But, you know, it sounds so cliche, but how did I do it? One day at a time, you know, just for today. That's what we do, one day at a time. And you know, healing power, God, life just keeps guiding me. Everywhere I've been along the way was, you know, never really fully planned by me. I was guided to where I was supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's quite a story. And you said you have others, but tell me, what does your God, your good ordinary direction, your power greater than ego look like in your life today?
Yeah. So I feel like I'm constantly redefining what God is to me. I like the acronym good orderly direction or good ordinary direction, orderly. To me, God, healing power, it's not the guy in the sky with the white beard judging me, right? That was the God of my childhood. I thought that I must be punished to be so sick as a kid because this God, you know, told me I'm a bad person. But I'd say, you know, for me, God now is, it can be male or female. It can be it's more feminine than masculine because that's how I associate. But it's this essence, this energy. And just recently, I kind of started in many ways. I mean, I have not relapsed from drugs and alcohol, but I've started my 12 steps all over again. And I'm realizing how addicted I have been to anything that covers up uncomfortable feelings, you know, that like if I'm procrastinating or I don't want to do something, I can be compulsively addicted to maybe overeating or too much technology or, you know, just trying to escape the uncomfortableness. And I believe as human beings, that's what our brain's trying to keep us safe. But it's so easy to run away from it because we live in this instant gratification society. So I've been really getting into what I've just learned about called two-way prayer. And essentially what it is it's like a 10-minute meditation of just really getting grounded and connecting and, asking God, asking higher power, asking healing power, what is your will for me? It's getting beyond my own ego and saying, what is the highest good for me to do? And then being in that place, really being grounded and centered. And then after that, writing for like 10 minutes. So I pull up my journal and sometimes I'll write, God, what would you have me do? Or how can you help me with this challenging situation that I have going on? And I'll just write and I'll just write and write and write. And to me, that is the way I have become the most connected to God or to source. And it's been really powerful because, there's this father, Bill W., not the Bill W. who started the AA, but he's a minister and he's kind of a big proponent of two-way prayer. And somebody asked him, like, how do you know it's God speaking to you or higher power or whatever you want to call it? And he says, I don't know that, but what I do know is it's the kindest, most loving part of me that speaks to me. It's not the critic, it's not the harshness, it's a caring, loving energy. So a sense of what my God is anything other than my ego, in a sense. And in our teachings, we talk about the face of God. Kathy, you are the face of God to me. When you and I have been praying every week for 11 years now, right?
11 years, yeah.
11 years. We were practitioner sisters together and became prayer partners. And so you've seen me through these 11 years change, and I've seen you do the same. And every time I leave our sessions, I'm like, I just got to talk to God. I was talking to Kathy and she's God, So we are that for each other. So that's another aspect of God for me. I'm giving you really long answers.
It is interesting how people, according to whether they're auditory or visual or tactile, that's where God shows up for people. Some people it's painting instead of writing.
Yeah.
And so that's great that you have that you are hooking into that. Well, our third question. What's one just for today practice that keeps you choosing growth, recovery, or your best self one day at a time?
So this has been an interesting question that I feel like continues to evolve. So for a while, it was yoga. I was practicing yoga every single day. That was my connection. And even with years of practicing yoga, I could start to have my egoic chatter coming in while I'm practicing yoga, because anything you do habitually, consistently, I can kind of lose a bit of that sacred if I'm not careful. So I'd say right now, it really is the writing. This writing is a practice for me. And I just signed up for this writing class that I went to last night. It's 4 weeks, and I'm so excited because it's reminding me back in like 1998 or something, I went to this Wild Women workshops. And I was living in California at the time. We went to Yosemite and we went backpacking, we did yoga, and we did writing. And I remember the instructor talked about this woman, Natalie Goldberg, who wrote Writing Down the Bones. And so actually I just went out and bought that book yesterday. And it's just, I'm just remembering how for me right now, when I'm writing, it's like building my confidence. It's helping me remember my light, because I can get easily overwhelmed with the executive functioning aspect of our world. I got to do this email. I got to schedule with this person. I got, like all these worldly things can completely overwhelm me easily. But I'm relearning that writing is so powerful, and that, like I mentioned earlier, I can just write, higher power or God, what would you have me do next? Like if I have 20 things to do and I don't know what to do and I want to just check out and go to the refrigerator or go put on some show and get back to it later, I'm simply writing. And then right there, the answers come out on paper. Oh, you should take a rest. You should go lay down for 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Well, of course I'm not thinking of that because I'm so stuck up here instead of in my heart. And, and my higher power is saying, go rest. So the answers are like coming to me, which is just so powerful.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, you have been questioned and your answers have passed. Thank you so much for sharing, Casey.
Thank you, Kathy. And we will have you back on the show at a point to hear your answers as well. And so I'm going to do a short little break. We're going to have some commercial break here about our New Thought Media Network. And then I'm going to share with you a little bit more. So Kathy and I are going to go off stage and I'll put some dates. I'll share with some dates with you about this, but this Saturday morning Science of Mind series, I'm going to be doing some too. So let me share this with you and then I'll tell you what those dates are.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents the Science of Mind Saturday Conversations. Learn more about the Science of Mind philosophy, faith, and way of life. Join our team of experts for a weekly deep dive discussion. Come study the science of mind, chapter by chapter, and resources from the Science of Mind archives. Plan to join us every Saturday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Only on the New Thought Media Network.
So I will be sharing these dates, but starting in September 5th, October 10th, November 21st, and December 19th, once a month for the next 4 months, I will be on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. sharing some powerful Science of Mind teachings with you. I can't tell you that it's like the first Saturday of those 4 months because other people had already signed up. And so I stuck myself in when I can. But I'll be creating some events on Facebook. And I'll be sharing those as well. So I'd love to have you join me as I share that as well. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about New Thought Radio. New Thought Radio. I'm going to share this video with you. And I have to tell you, I'm playing this in the background all the time. It's such uplifting music. All right, so New Thought Radio. So it's radio.ntmedia.org. And I was thinking that I had a banner here for that, but I do not. But instead, I'm going to show you this. This is one of my favorite quotes by Anais Nin. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So that's what we're doing here. We're blossoming on the Courageous Casey show, Courageous Casey Conversations. So what else did I want to talk about? I guess I wanted to tell you that each week, like I said, I'm going to be having guests on the show. I've talked to quite a few different friends. I would love to bring on you if you'd like to talk about recovery or spirituality or overcoming adversity or challenges. Your ACEs, you know what your ACEs are from childhood, adverse childhood experiences. not aces from the tennis court. So we really want to have this conversation and talk about the hard things, but in a way that's real and not in a place of getting into pity or poor me or poor us, but how have we overcome? How have we moved through it? What are we doing to help make the world a better place? Because people need our inspiration. They need to hear what we've done. That's how we support each other, how we move through places of courage with each other. So love for you to join me. Please reach out to me and I'd love to have you on the show. I will be having a donation link that's more specific to my show. But for now, if you'd like to donate, to just circulate, you can go to ntmedia.org/donate if you feel like this has been supportive to you. In spirituality and ministry, we call it tithing. It's like giving and receiving. You're giving back and you're receiving. So if you do go there, feel free to just drop in and say, Casey's Courageous Show. But I will have my own link coming up soon. But I am just here because I really want to serve and support. So hopefully you're watching this on YouTube. If you're at youtube.com/courageouscasey, or maybe you're on New Thought Media Network, please like and subscribe. That will also help us because we can monetize the show, and that will bring more abundance into the network as well, so we can bring more of these to you. We do this out of the goodness of our hearts, and we want to share. And, people always say, it'll come. And I'm like, well, my landlord doesn't really believe that. So, got to give him the real funds, right? So just if you feel called, if not, no big deal. We are here. This is passion, and I'm happy to share it. So I don't have my guest lined up for next week. So it might be me, it might be Kathy. We might be going into her story, but we will figure it out. And don't worry, we will get them all lined up soon. So I really want to thank you all so much for being here today. I want to check the chat if anyone has anything they'd like to share. I just see a lot of gratitude, and I'm just so thankful for all of you who have come to watch the show and be here. And these are recorded. They will be online, and you can watch them at any time. So I think with that, we will close. Oh, wait. I just remembered we didn't do our spiritual practice. Okay. See, this is the sloppy success, and that's okay. Thank you for your patience. I'm willing to just put it out there. So I do want to share the spiritual practice with you, and then we'll wrap it up. So this is one of my favorite spiritual practices. It's a mindfulness practice called 5-4-3-2-1 about the senses. So I mentioned this earlier. So what we're going to do, I'll explain it to you first, then we'll do it, and then I'll recap it so you can remember and do it on your own. So first, we're going to look at 5 objects. I'll guide you through it. We're going to touch 4 things, just maybe something in front of you. And then we're going to listen for 3 sounds. We're going to try to smell 2 things, and we're going to see if there's any taste, 1 thing. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this exercise can be done in like 5 minutes or 25 minutes. We're going to probably do 5 minutes or so, or a little bit less. So I just encourage you to look away from the screen and look at something. I'm in the house with stairs. I'm just going to look at those stairs. And as you're looking at them, think of yourself as a toddler. You don't know what they are. You're observing shape, size, structure, dimensions. And this is really a practice to get very present. And so now I want you to turn your body the other way and look at something else. I see a tree outside, but instead of labeling it a tree or being in story, just notice color. Maybe there's some movement. Notice if you can sense textures. You're probably already seeing the benefits of this slowing down. Now, look kind of past your computer or phone or wherever you're watching this and look at something against the wall. What do you see? Just notice without labeling or telling a story, but observe colors, shapes, maybe even energy. And then find a fourth object. Maybe turn around. Look at something behind you. Again, noticing shape, size, color. And then find a final fifth object to observe. Maybe it's got multiple colors or dimensions, rounded, curved, pointy. And now we're going to move into 4 things to touch. Just pick something up. Could be some lip balm. Just feel it with your hands. Notice how the object feels on your fingertips. Smooth, rough. Notice the shapes. And then find a second object. Maybe it has some movement to it or sound. Just simply feel it. Again, moving out of story in your mind, but what are you actually feeling with your body? As Kathy mentioned earlier, this is a very kinesthetic practice. It gets us right back to the moment. Now find a third object. Maybe you can even feel if it has some movement to it. And then find a fourth object. Notice the texture, the temperature. I think we should do this at the beginning next time. I notice it calms me down a lot. Okay, so now we're going to move to 3 things. 3 things. Okay, so first, I want you to listen for the sound that's as far away from you as possible. Like, can you hear a sound outside of the building that you're in? Maybe cars on the street? And now listen for a sound that's maybe in a different room that you're in, but in the same building. Or like if you're in a car, maybe the back of the car. And then now listen for a sound that's really close. Maybe right now it's the sound of my voice or a hum of your computer or like air conditioning or something close by. And then see if you can hear all of those sounds together. I like to think of this as heightening our spidey senses. We're really becoming better hearers, not just listening, because that's a lot to do with our mind, but hearing when we take time to slow down and really hear. And then now we're going to go to 2 things you can smell. So this one can be a little trickier. Maybe you have something like I have this lip balm and I can smell it. If you don't have anything to smell per se, just imagine maybe a favorite food that someone cooked for you when you were younger. Or I always remember my grandparents' garage, the way it smelled, and I can almost really bring it back when I smell it. So try 1 or 2 of those smells. And then the last one is a taste. Notice if there's any meals lingering left in your mouth, or if you have some flavored water or tea or drink. Or again, it's like lip balm on your lips. You can taste it. If you don't have anything to taste, I want you to imagine that I'm giving you a lemon wedge and you stuck it in your mouth. Notice what happens. I almost always scrunch up my face because I can really, my mouth starts to salivate when I get a sense of that lemon wedge. So that is a very powerful practice, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 senses, or it's very grounding. So we looked at 5 things, we touched 4 things, we listened for 3, we smelled 2, and we tasted 1. So that's our spiritual practice for the week. I highly encourage you to try that this week. Send me a message. Let me know how that goes when you do that. Use it in times of stress or challenges. And I can guarantee you it really gets you into the present moment. So I hope that right now you're feeling a little more present than you were before we did it. So thank you again so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you all. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Namaste. Stay for the outro video.
Thanks for watching. Plan today to join us again next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, or watch past episodes on youtube.com, at Courageous Casey, or at New Thought Media Network.